When one thinks of Miami, the first things that come to mind are its vibrancy, excitement, and rich culture. The energy of the people truly shines, perfectly capturing the essence of a man who is loved and adored by many who know him. However, his life turns unexpectedly when he finds love amid the bustling city. He takes a courageous leap into romance as everything suddenly changes. What happened? What secrets will be revealed? And what happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with Murder Most Foul.
October 3rd, 2003. It's a breezy Friday in the diverse Wynwood district of Miami, Florida.
It was, at that time, multicultural. You had Blacks, Hispanics, you had Spanish people from different origins there. So it was sort of like a community that everyone blended into.
In the last decade, it's become more of an artist's hub. So you see a lot of galleries, a lot of, interesting creative shops. But around that time was still very much a working class community. The real Miami, where, real people struggle every single day to make a better life for themselves and their families.
But that afternoon, one family's pursuit of a better life will be put on hold while they're frantic to find their loved one, 51-year-old Walter Dancy.
Excuse me.
Can I help you?
I'm here to file a missing persons report. My brother.
Bill Dancy walked into the police department to report his brother missing.
Walter was really close with his family.
And he was somebody that, when he went missing, he was missed.
When was the last time you heard from him?
Tuesday. It was his birthday.
2 days had passed and no one had heard from Walter. He and his family were very close, so they had reason to be concerned.
That was definitely a break from the norm. He just didn't ghost on friends and family for days. He had a stable job.
He also has a wife, 41-year-old Lutrice Cooper Dancy.
And she hasn't heard from him either?
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, I'll get on the phone for you.
Lutrice Dancy hadn't seen him either. The family was very concerned.
In fact, as Walter's brother soon learns, he's not the only person who's alerted the authorities.
Hey, Trish. Hey, I'm down here at the police station. They want... What?
Latrice happened to be filing a missing persons report at the time his brother was trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, the officer's here now.
Oh, okay.
Walter Dancy was just one of many Wynwood residents doing his best to get by.
Walter was an Army veteran who, after an injury, came home to work in his family's roofing business.
He worked hard, but he also played hard. And everyone says he was kind of the life of the party.
Walter was the kind of man that you knew when he was in the room. People wanted to be around him.
Walter loved to hang out with his buddies and go to the bars.
And he rarely went home alone.
He liked to be with the ladies, and that's who Walter was.
His reputation as a player and as a ladies' man was well known.
But when he met Lutrice Cooper in 1998, he knew he'd found something special.
Can I help you?
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem.
Walter met somebody that was out of character for him, that wasn't a party girl.
Lutrice was a thriving 36-year-old single mom, raising 3 kids on her own.
She was on top of her game.
She volunteered year-round at the kids' school.
She was very much involved in their education and also in their lives. She absolutely loved being a mother.
Walter, now in his 40s and with his own children grown, liked what he saw.
He looked at her as someone that was able to provide that stability that he actually needed in his own life.
She wasn't his normal type. He did not go for women like Lutrice. And that could look like, wow, this is where I need to plant my feet and get some growth going.
And when Walter turned on the charm, Lutrice was powerless to resist.
Yeah, what a pretty woman like you doing hanging at the school.
My kids go here.
Oh, yeah?
I just come help out sometimes.
When they first connect, there were sparks flying everywhere.
He wooed her, and he was Mr. Romance and Mr. Hard Worker. And I think she saw in Walter sort of the man of her dreams, the man that she thought would be her happily ever after.
It looked like he was trying to turn over a new leaf in his life and really start something fresh with Latrice and her children.
Soon, the couple was ready to make it permanent.
They'd been dating only 2 years before they decided to make it official and get married.
Latrice was so happy. Finally, she had a man that loved her, treated her well, and that was stable.
They were completely head over heels.
But now, after just 3 years of marriage, Walter has disappeared without a trace, and his family has contacted the police.
At this point, Walter has been gone for 2 days.
He hasn't called or anything.
Of course, that leads to concern on behalf of law enforcement.
I mean, he goes out to the bar and drinks every now and then, but not like this. He always come home afterwards.
This is uncharacteristic for Walter to just disappear, not contact anyone, not call anyone, and just not come home.
Latrice tells the police that she last saw Walter briefly on Wednesday night.
She says that he had gone out drinking with friends.
Latrice tells police that Walter came home around 10 o'clock.
I'll admit, we did have some words.
Because he was drinking?
Yeah. I just get so tired of it.
It's not unusual for couples to fight, disagree, have arguments.
Latrice said she was surprised when, right in the middle of their argument, Walter's cell phone rang.
Yeah. Just hug when you get here and I'll come out.
Who was that?
Don't worry about it, Trish.
And then not that much later, there's a beep.
A beep?
Yeah, like a car. I guess it was the same person who just called him, and he just walked out.
She doesn't know who came to pick him up. He just gets in the car.
And she had not seen him since.
Get ready to dive headfirst into a storm of lies and deception. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
After a lifelong reputation as a ladies' man, Walter Dancy had finally settled down with 41-year-old single mom, Latrice Cooper.
They got married in the year 2000. Walter's friends and family were surprised when he finally settled down, but he really wanted to build a life with Latrice, and she was thrilled to have such a kind man in her life.
But now, on October 3rd, 2003, Walter has vanished, and Latrice is desperate to find him.
Latrice told the responding officer that she last saw Walter 2 days earlier, on Wednesday night.
She says Walter came home from partying around 10 o'clock at night. They ended up getting into an argument.
And then he left with someone else.
She says during that argument, he then gets a call, and then a car pulled up.
He just gets in the car and leaves.
And she had not seen him since.
You know what kind of car it was?
No, I just saw the headlights.
She doesn't know who came to pick him up.
But Latrice says she has a pretty good idea.
It was probably one of his girls.
According to Latrice, Walter had maintained his reputation as a ladies' man even after they said their vows.
Latrice knew that Walter was a ladies' man when she met him. She knew that Walter probably wasn't really going to change after marriage, and he didn't.
She was giving indications that there may have been infidelity or cheating in the relationship.
Still, Latrice insists that she was willing to accept Walter for who he was.
I love him. He takes care of me and the kids. I just want him to be happy too.
Latrice's accusation of infidelity raises an immediate red flag for the officer.
When police officers receive a missing persons report from a spouse, they definitely look at it a little bit differently.
You would obviously be concerned if someone is missing, if there's a tumultuous relationship involved.
Could they potentially be investigating more than just a missing persons case?
Or is Walter's disappearance just a minor domestic squabble?
He hasn't been gone long enough to really create any type of suspicion of foul play.
Maybe he was out with someone else because he was a ladies' man, so he could have been somewhere just trying to, blow off some steam.
Still, before leaving, the officer takes a cursory look around the Dancy's home, but doesn't see anything amiss.
There were no things knocked over or anything like that. There was nothing visually that a detective could say, oh, something really bad happened here.
There was no blood spatter. They didn't see anything unusual. So they thought this was just, a regular run-of-the-mill missing persons report.
Back at the station, officers pass the report to detectives who follow up with Walter's brother, Bill.
She said Wednesday that they was arguing, and he got a phone call. And whoever called him, when they pulled up, blew the horn. And he went out the door as if he was going to meet him, and he never came back.
His brother doesn't know exactly who Walter left with, but when detectives ask, his answer is the same as Lutrice's.
He was out here probably with some woman.
When detectives ask Walter's son to come down to the station too, he gives them a similar story.
He called me and said that they had an argument on the road outside. He went out there and got in the car and drove off.
However, Walter's son says he didn't think it was that big a deal.
I tell her, don't worry about it. He probably need to just go get himself a little time. Probably rode off with a friend or whatever.
He says he believes that friend was likely another woman.
My mind, that what it was. That he was going with a lady's husband.
So with that being said, you have the wife saying, hey, he left with another woman. You have the family saying, hey, we haven't seen him, but yes, we've known him to cheat and he was actively cheating on his wife. It is completely logical to think, this is probably a marital dispute.
This may just be a case of someone who disappeared on purpose.
They had an argument, and maybe he's blowing off some steam.
And maybe he'll call her in a couple of days, apologize, buy her flowers, everything's gonna be fine, right?
Although now that Walter's son hasn't heard from his father in more than 48 hours, he's not so sure.
It was not like Walter Dancy to just disappear for days on end.
I wouldn't care if he in the middle of the street by calling my house that phone.
Was Walter merely laying low, or was it possible something happened to him?
He possibly could have been messing around with the wrong woman.
And when you deal with multiple partners, in this case, multiple women, one of them might get jealous.
Or maybe Walter wasn't the only one cheating.
It's possible that one of Walter's mistresses also had a partner.
Could this have been the husband or boyfriend of one of his girlfriends that was upset?
After talking to Walter's family, detectives have a starting point.
Walter's wife claimed that he left with an unknown person Wednesday night after an argument.
She believes that it's a woman that he had been cheating on her with.
Unfortunately for detectives, she didn't know the girlfriend's name, and neither did any of Walter's family.
Tracking down the mystery woman is now detectives' top priority.
They need to find her, they need to talk to her, and see if she can give them any information as to Walter Dancy's whereabouts.
Looking for leads, detectives subpoena Walter's phone records.
Since Lutrice said the woman may have called Walter shortly before picking him up, there was probably a record of the incoming call.
Then, while waiting to hear back from Walter's cell provider, detectives start talking to his friends around the neighborhood.
This was a guy who was on the street and around people.
People in the neighborhood, they knew him at this one particular popular corner where he loved to hang out.
Detectives were in luck when one friend of Walter said he knew exactly who the other woman was.
I know he was seeing this young lady named Martine Duval.
And that isn't all Walter's friend knows about his girlfriend.
Can you tell us where we can find her?
Yeah, I think she lived in Little Haiti with her husband.
New secrets are being unraveled. Stay tuned for more intriguing mysteries on the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Detectives investigating Walter Dancy's disappearance have just learned that the missing man may have been involved with a married woman.
Can you tell us where we can find her?
Yeah, I think she lived in Little Haiti with her husband.
When you're dealing with multiple parties in romantic relationships, jealousy starts to be a real thing.
Maybe her husband got wind of it and there was some kind of altercation. We just don't know.
All the detectives do know is the woman's name.
Martine Duval.
Armed with a name, detectives are able to track down Martine and ask her to come in for an interview.
So what's this about? We need to ask you some questions about Walter Dancy.
Martine admitted to knowing Walter and that they did have a relationship.
Does your husband know about Walter? Yes, but it doesn't matter. We're separated.
How long?
6 months or so.
Martine says they split up around the time she started seeing Walter.
If Walter was the reason for the split, it could have given Martine's husband motive to want him out of the picture.
Perhaps he came back for revenge.
Or maybe Martine's husband isn't the only one with a motive.
Do you know that Walter's married? Yeah, I know he's married. That's about to be over soon.
Martine explained that Walter was thinking about leaving Lutrice.
This was a relationship that started off really good in the beginning, but then after they got married, it just went downhill.
Were you upset that he hadn't left her yet?
No, I was happy to be patient. But there's something you need to know about Trish.
Martine explains that Lutrice shouldered plenty of the blame for the declining marriage.
She said Lutrice had a long-time struggle with narcotics and addiction.
According to what Walter told her, it had started well before he met Lutrice.
He said she started doing drugs when she was in high school.
She tried to blend in. She wanted to belong so badly that she admits to joining in the wrong crowd.
And by the time she was a young mother, she was a full-blown addict.
Eventually, Latrice lost her children to Child Protective Services.
That was a wake-up call for her.
Latrice had a decision to make, and she made the right choice. She went to try and help her children and turn her life around.
She had checked herself into a rehab.
She got her kids back and became a super fantastic mom.
She really felt that she could redeem herself and be the mother that the children deserved.
Thank you so much.
It was around this time that Lutrice met Walter.
She was sober, she was flourishing.
But Martine says that Lutrice's happiness didn't last.
As with some people that struggle with the disease of addiction, she relapsed.
Martine claims that Lutrice had started to blame Walter for her relapse.
She said as a result of dealing with the infidelity and being frustrated, she relapsed.
She went back to using, and her habit was increasing.
Latrice had gotten so bad, apparently, with her addiction that Walter resorted to hiding his money.
That's not unusual in relationships where there's addiction because the spouse remaining has to do what they need to do to make sure they can keep a roof over their head and keep the family going.
He told me he's been fed up with her.
To be married, to be in love with someone who's an addict is a very hard road. So he was definitely in a tough situation. Is that a justification for infidelity? Not necessarily. But these are all factors that play into why people make the decisions they make.
Was one of those decisions leaving Lutrice?
The fact that Latrice had relapsed, I think it was normal that Walter could have wanted out.
He feels like he's done all he could do. Maybe he feels like, you know what, this isn't what I thought it was gonna be.
But was it Martine that Walter had walked out with on Wednesday night?
When detectives asked Martine when she last saw Walter, she said it was more than a week ago.
I've been over at my sister's in Tampa. When did you get back? Thursday afternoon.
If that was true, it couldn't have been Martine who picked up Walter on Wednesday night.
Should detectives be looking for a different woman? After getting her sister's number so they can confirm her alibi, detectives let Martine go.
You're free to go.
Detectives were basically back at square one.
Then on Monday, October 6th, 3 days after Walter was reported missing, one of the Dancy's neighbors calls the Miami PD's non-emergency number.
I don't know if it's really anything, but I thought y'all should come check it out.
At this point, the neighbor knows that Walter is missing.
Trish, ever since Walter went missing, she's been acting crazy.
Lutrice decides that she's going to grill.
And she kept barbecuing just pounds and pounds and pounds of meat. And everybody was just kind of like, that's a weird thing to do when your husband's missing.
Prepare yourself for the twists and turns that lie ahead. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next on the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
One of Walter and Lutrice Dancy's neighbors has called police to report some suspicious behavior coming from the couple's Miami home.
Lutrice decided that she was going to have barbecue while her husband was missing.
She was cooking pounds of meat.
The neighbors were actually like, what is going on?
When an officer responds, he finds Lutrice's neighbor waiting out front.
Yes, ma'am, did you call?
Yeah, something weird's going on over there.
Neighbors in the houses on each side started noticing an odor.
Then she started to barbecue.
As a result of that, the smoke is permeating all outside, and the neighbors are wondering, why is she grilling so much while her husband is missing?
As the officer was there, there's a stench, a foul odor coming from the area.
Go ahead. Listen, I got a very foul odor.
That was something that would concern me.
Especially since the neighbor who called police also reported hearing a gunshot.
We heard shots fired on a Wednesday.
On Wednesday?
Yeah, on Wednesday, from last week.
Which, of course, was the same day that Walter went missing.
You sure it was a gunshot?
It sure sounded like one.
In the neighborhood, you hear a loud noise. Not being familiar with firearms, somebody would have heard that and found it unusual.
That's not the only unusual thing the neighbor reports either.
She had moved her kids out the house.
I saw them all leaving. The kids had suitcases. I haven't seen them since.
After talking to the neighbor, the officer heads next door to Lutrice's house.
Yes, ma'am, police department. I just need to ask you some questions.
Okay, is this about the smell?
Lutrice says she can explain.
She tells them that the septic tank is backed up, and that is the smell that is permeating the entire neighborhood.
A backed up septic tank in Florida will smell a little ripe after a day or two. There's no question about that.
I mean, it's got so bad I had to take the kids to a motel.
She was saying that, well, obviously I don't want my children smelling this and becoming unhealthy as a result.
She tells the police she has tried so hard to try and mask the smell with the hamburgers, with air fresheners.
You call anybody to fix it?
She says that she's called the landlord and he's sending someone over.
Which appears to satisfy the officer at the scene. For now.
He took it for face value, what she told him, and he left.
This was just a patrol officer called out on a neighbor's complaint. He didn't have all the information that detectives investigating Walter's disappearance had.
However, only a few hours after the officer leaves, Lutrice's neighbor is back on the phone with the police. This time, she calls 911.
Any have an emergency? There's a dead body. A dead body was there. I don't know.
Lutrice's neighbor is in such distress. You can tell that she's on the verge of crying, but she's still trying to hold it together.
Smell has been going on for the whole weekend. From what I was told, she told me it was the plumbing. You know, plumbing. You know, it got to be a body because it's worse than boo-boo. It's worse than plumbing.
Then, the neighbor reveals that she has even more to back up her fear.
Her father just came and told me to call y'all. Okay. Hold on, man, here. Hello?
At the dispatcher's request, The neighbor puts Lutrice's father on the phone.
It's my daughter lives next door.
Lutricia's father quickly explained that her husband had disappeared.
She was missing a couple of days. Okay. She was going out of mind.
But her father says it's not because Walter has been missing.
According to her father, Lutrice had always known exactly where Walter was.
She finally called me this morning and said she's dead in the bathroom. Who's dead in the bathroom? Her husband.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Just hours after an officer was called to Lutrice and Walter Dancy's home to investigate a suspicious smell, the couple's neighbor has made another alarming call to 911.
Her father just knocked on my door, told me to call the police.
When Lutricia's father got on the phone, he said that Lutricia's husband, Walter, was dead.
He just called me and said, Sadie, I do it.
She basically admits to him that she did it. So he comes over to the house to try and, see what's going on. And then he calls the police and makes the report.
Within minutes, multiple units are headed to the Dancy home.
There was no sign of Lutrice, but the police did find her father waiting for them.
He was in sort of like total disbelief that she had done this.
He can't really give officers a full picture of what happened. He only knows what his daughter told him.
He hadn't been in the house because the doors were locked.
Once police make entry into the home, there's no longer any doubt that they're investigating a homicide.
They find Walter's dead body in the bathtub.
And that was the foul smell that she was saying was a septic tank backup.
Decomposition was really setting in and it was ugly.
But the decomposition isn't the worst part.
They found empty containers of acid and bleach.
You could see burn marks on the body where she had poured the acid and the damage that the acid had done.
Police, unfortunately, they deal with homicides on a daily basis, certainly here in Miami and other major cities. But to see a body that's been desecrated, that's been mutilated in such a fashion is a very rare occurrence.
It was an extremely shocking scene.
It was something that we had never experienced. Something that you just don't expect to see a human being do to another human being.
Despite the severe decomposition and Lutrice's apparent attempts to dispose of the body, there's no disguising how Walter died.
Point blank, she had shot her husband with a shotgun.
He was shot once in the left side of his chest, and this is close quarters. So the amount of damage that his body sustained was serious.
Leaving the CSI team to process the horrific scene and remove Walter's body from the bathroom, the detectives take Lutrice's father down to the station for a formal statement.
Talking with him for the first time, he was extremely concerned and very upset, worried about her well-being, of course, and worried about the act that she had done.
But he had a very strong moral compass. It was very clear by the fact that, number one, he was the one to call the police.
When Lutrice contacts her dad, at this point she realized it's done, it's over.
She called me and told me that after he's in the bathroom. He said, police haven't been around here.
She knew her bluff about the septic tank would only satisfy them for so long.
So she talks to the one man who has always been stable and reliable in her life, and that's her father.
Okay, now, when your daughter told you that, what did you do? That's what I'm proud of it. You came to her house.
He says he found Lutrice waiting for him.
She was just weeping right in front of the house. It's okay. Calm down. Let's hold the police. She said, no, Daddy, not right now. I got to go get my children.
When we got there, she was not on the scene. So she was taking care of her business to secure her children.
She had gone to cash some checks to get money so that she can give that to her father, as well as the paperwork for the guardianship of her children.
Essentially, she was getting her affairs in order because she knew that she was going to jail.
She knew that her life, as she knew it, was over. So she was basically just trying to make arrangements so that her family would be taken care of when she goes into custody.
When it all fell apart, she went to do the right thing by her children.
And according to her father, she didn't deny what she'd done.
She told me shot him with a shot.
He was very open with us about what she had shared with him. Didn't try to conceal it at all. And was very helpful.
Although, according to her father, he didn't know exactly why Lutrice had done it.
I know they was having a problem.
He also confirms what others had told detectives about his daughter's struggle with drug addiction.
How long has she been a recovery addict? Oh boy, 15, 20 years. Okay. But you said, please.
And you said that she recently had a relapse? How recent?
I would say about a year.
But while Lutrice's father can't say if it was the marital problems or the drugs that drove her to shoot Walter, the CSI team finds plenty of clues hidden at the couple's home.
We discovered a lot of photos with him with other women. He had a trove of photos, hundreds of photos.
I'm talking graphic photographs, the sexually explicit pictures.
A description of him as a ladies' man was definitely found. To have the volume of photos with other women that he had is an indication that he did not consider the marriage very seriously.
A motive, a confession, and a dead body. The detectives have almost everything they need to tie a bow around the case, except Lutrice.
Law enforcement definitely would have been concerned that she was on the run.
Thankfully, her father is able to convince her to come turn herself in.
He was communicating with her, and we expressed to him that, she had to come back.
And when detectives finally get Lutrice into an interview room, she's ready to talk.
Lutrice didn't even attempt to deny anything. She was completely forthcoming with detectives.
I know I'm going to jail. I've killed my husband.
Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next on the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
At the urging of her father, 41-year-old Lutrice Dancy has turned herself into police for the murder of her husband.
Why don't you go back to the beginning and let's talk about what happened, why it happened, and when it happened.
With little prompting from the detective, Lutrice proceeds to explain what happened on the night Walter disappeared.
Lutrice recalls Walter coming home and being drunk.
I want to have a conversation with him.
Where you been, Walter?
According to Lutrice, Walter had brushed her off and gone to bed.
He wanted to talk about it later.
Yeah, and later mean none at all. Leave me alone.
Angry after the argument, Lutrice decided she needed to numb her feelings.
He gets in bed. When he's sleeping, she goes outside to the car to find some money.
Because she had relapsed. She was looking for money to score drugs.
But according to Lutrice, it's not money that she found.
Inside of the glove box, she finds a trove of photos. Not just a photo, not just 10 photos. I mean, there was a stack of photos of him with various women.
So I saw the pictures.
And what did you see in the pictures?
I saw my husband hand all over whores, naked, around it. And that's what my husband.
That, of course, made her angry.
Lutrice says that after finding the pictures, she'd gone back into the house.
Then what did you do?
I go in there and I go get the shotgun.
Get up! Latrice, what the hell are you doing?
Think I'm stupid?
He basically was like, what you gonna do with that? And she says, I'm fitting to show you.
He said, you crazy, stupid. You don't even know how to use it.
Probably not the best choice of words.
Then what happened?
fell down.
Where he fell, on the floor or the bed?
On the floor.
All right. Is he dead?
Yeah.
Felt very just like matter of fact in a lot of ways. You ask me what happened, here it is.
Then, with Walter dead, Lutrice had acted quickly to conceal the body and her own guilt.
I wrapped him up and I put in the closet because I didn't want my kids to wake up and see his body.
After making sure nothing seemed amiss, Lutrice called police to report Walter missing.
Mr. Dancy was actually in the closet while law enforcement was in the home taking the report.
At this point, there was no smell that was permeating.
But over the next few days, as the body started to decompose, Lutrice became desperate.
She sort of doused him with all kinds of rug spray and every kind of air freshener stuff that you could think of to keep the odor down. And when it got to the point where it was getting too overwhelming is when she decided to act.
She took him to the bathtub thinking she could wash him down the drain, and, well, no.
I put him in the tub and let the acid burn him.
She had watched too many movies. There's nothing that you can get at Home Depot that's going to accomplish that.
So you tried burning him?
Yes.
What happened?
It didn't work. The thing burned with his socks.
That's what the grilling, like tons and tons and tons of food was about.
She was trying to disguise the odor from the body by having a barbecue.
She started to run out of options. She was like, I gotta get him out of the house.
I don't know what to do. I gotta take her away. Can I get that body out?
She's completely freaking out. She knocks on the neighbor's door and she asks to borrow a dolly.
She has opened the trunk of the car, lined it, and put the gun, and was going to put his body in the trunk and drive to the Everglades.
If she had the ability to get that body out of there and to the Everglades, she would have dumped him.
You can get to the Everglades in about an hour.
But just moments away from solving her problem, a new one emerged.
She was locked out of her house.
I'm coming back, and my keys is on the counter. No!
People don't understand the toll that being involved in a murder takes on you. Especially if you're a decent human being with any kind of conscience, right? She's completely beaten down.
At her wit's end, there was only one thing left for Lutrice to do.
Daddy! I call my dad, Dad. You better come over here because I'm going to jail.
At the end of her confession, detectives book Lutrice on murder charges.
Under the law, we have a narrow set of circumstances where a homicide is justifiable. That's usually in the context of self-defense. That's not what happened here.
The news of Lutrice's arrest and what she'd done to Walter stuns the couple's family and neighbors.
The details of what happened here and what this woman was capable of doing, it was shocking.
No one expected that this sort of thing would happen in their backyard. And they were, of course, horrified to know that what they were smelling all those days was not a septic tank. It was a human being.
Now the question is, what will Lutrice's horrifying deed ultimately cost her?
She was facing life in prison because of the fact that she used a firearm to kill him. And we extended a plea of 45 years, which was accepted. The family definitely got some sense of closure from Lutrice Dancy being caught and held accountable for what she did.
And at the end of the day, whatever poor choices Walter may have made didn't make him deserving of death.
Walter Dancy may not have done everything the way he should have. He probably didn't honor Lutrice as he once said he would with their marriage vows. But it wasn't Lutrice's role or call to take his life.
What she did was wrong, horrible, inappropriate, and irreversible. She can't take that back. And as a result, she's robbed a man of the ability to live. She's robbed his family of the ability to have him in their lives.
True love is a treasure, often found when you least expect it. It can create the most genuine connections, emerging effortlessly when you're not actively searching for it. But what happens when someone you hold dear betrays your trust? Take Walter Dancy, for example. He was admired and respected by many, and he opened his heart, placing his trust in someone who ultimately let him down. The result is a terrible loss, the ultimate betrayal. Walter's spirit will shine brightly in the hearts of those who truly love him. He will always be remembered and cherished, a testament to his profound impact on their lives.
If you or a loved one are struggling with substance abuse or mental health issues, there is help available. Call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration at 1-800-662-HELP.
Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
She was a single mom who dreamed of giving her son the world.
She was eager to have the best life for her child.
And she found the perfect partner to stand by her side.
He was going to take care of her and the child.
He was making her happy.
Shania?
Until an unspeakable crime tears them apart forever.
A devoted young mother filled with hope and dreams becomes captivated by an older man who seems to offer her a bright future filled with love. However, as their relationship unfolds, the love story reaches a shocking finale. Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.